And today on Combiner Wars Month, Projector Bot Week, we are looking at Autobot Street, who is a nice little cop car. Now it's kind of not showing up well on my camera, but he is more of a bone off-white compared to basically the bleach blonde white you see in the other figures. But he does sport some nice, kind of not metallic-ish. It's kind of weird to say blue. That nice silver that's been popping up in all the other figures. And he also sports a new metallic gun gray on the ramming bars. I'm not really sure. And of course, I need to get his silver Gundam marker and fill these things in, because just the more I look at them, the more they disturb me. I do kind of dig how they're disguising the pop as an actual brake wheel on the inside. I do like that. And of course, he is one of the more popular molds that came out of the Combiner Wars line. This mold had, I believe, 5 different mass retail releases. I'm not including the bundle sets like Victorion or Computron, because every time I try to remember those sets, I always forget them. I'm always trying to remember the sets that we only got in retail, like Walmart or Target, on the individual cards. Oh, let's put it like that. That were sold individually. Because Computron and Victorion were only sold as sets. But anywho, thanks to him being another Combiner Wars mold, there's no issues on leveling out. So of course he does roll very, 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 very well. And of course he does come with 2 weapons. He comes with the traditional hand-foot laser gun. I don't know how to put that one. And this really nice shotgun-looking sniper rifle with a scope. I have no idea what it is now. With that, it actually has a nicer coat of paint on it. Now the downside with this is that you can definitely tell this is a coat of paint, because the minute anybody breaks this in half, you know it is a white piece of plastic instead of this gray. And of course you can store them on the vehicle, so all you gotta do is just boop, and a boop. And there you go. There's no other fancy way to store the gun. There's no other... I mean, you can try to put it back here, but it just hangs off. You can't really put it here because it will just make the car tilt. I mean, that's the only real place you're going to put it. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and show off the limbs. So all you got really got to do for leg mode is just pop this up, crack this in half, make sure that stays down, pop open the combiner port, put that on, ooh, and tilt this up a little bit. And boom, we got a decent, we got a decent looking leg mode. He is going to tilt to the side. I'll spoil that here in a second. And it's something with all the car modes where if we had a combiner that was nothing but car limbs, they would actually make a really nice silhouette, only because that their mass is being distributed evenly. But seeing that I do like the more mismatched teams, I do kind of have to suck it up with the proportion things. I know I brought that up sooner, but you gotta pick and choose. But you can always customize. You can always pick up some spare figures that are lying around or shelf warming, put on some repeat labels, make them different characters, and make your own combiner team. That's always something nice to do. Especially with some, there's actually some random conversion kits over there that can actually help your combiner teams turn into different Autobots. There was a whole different upgrade kit that turned a spare blades, or, oh man, I can't remember the name. It basically turned one of the helicopter units into a spare combiner unit that was actually canon. He actually does exist, and he has yet to have a figure made. So I thought that was actually kind of cool. And thanks to all the Titan Masters and both the Titan Masters and the Titan Headmasters, you can actually really create your own characters now by getting a spare body, customizing your own head, and then getting a new sticker set to completely change them out. So right now, as in customizing wise, you have some really nice options out there. Especially if you want to create your own custom combiner bot to be more specific. But anyway, let's go on ahead to R mode. We do have to take that off, so we can pop these open because there's these little tabs down here. You gotta pull and lightly pull out like that. And same thing over here. Boom. And as you pull this away, you have to straighten the knees because they're kind of on these weird double joints. and push that out like so. Uh-oh. Come on, there you go. Line these up, and when you do close them, it will lock the knees in place. If they are in place. There we go. And to do the arm part, bring these up. There would be these little tabs, and that little slot right there. Now these don't really friction in that good. They just kind of hang there, like as a placement to get out of the way. Of course, you bring the port. I do have Streets as a right arm, so we'll just go ahead and put him in the right arm configuration. I prepped this one. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes on how to wrangle it. And there we have as a actual decent arm mode. Let's try to tilt this up a little bit more. There we go. And I actually do have him as a right arm. And of course, another downside is that he has to hang the weapon like this. Again, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Once I heard it, I can't get it out of my head of why can't we have combining weapons back? Volcanicus, or all the Dinobots, was a prime example of having all their swords or all their weapons combined into a giant combiner sword that looks exactly like the one that Grimlock used in the Cybertron games. That would have been so cool. Or at least give us like a sword and a shield or a sword and a blaster. They had a really good opportunity. Shoot, that's what I even thought would happen when they said they were going to come with the original swords. But they were just trying to cater to the purists and just keep them to the originals. It's like, you had a potential there to use it, but you didn't. Anyway, let's get back onto this outside my raving. You go ahead and put that away, put that down. And all we really got to do is just tilt that to the side, separate, push this down. Now, what I thought was always cool, but it's always kind of a pain at the same time, is that you have to rotate this, bring this up. Actually, no, we basically have to put the hood back on, so it's better to put these down, because you'll see these two pegs go in these holes, and you just gotta do that, and you'll already see this chest plate. That'll pop down. That's nothing but paint right there. So, and of course you just hold that and just bring that back like so. Uh-oh. His hips are a little loose on mine. Bring out his fists, which are on some really clicky joints. And, uh-oh. And you do have to curl this back up because that will affect how he stands. And there we go. And he looks really, really nice. I really do dig, again, I really do dig all these heads that they've been doing. They're boxy, but yet they still have curvature at them. Calling back to all the G1 versions where they had basically the joints for all the combiners were the heads. And since since they were trying to be simple, they kept them all boxy. But this shows more of an up-to-date look where it's still boxy, but it curves where it needs to be, especially around the head to give it more of a helmet look. And there's that nice silver popping up again with that nice, metallic blue. Is that some black trim around the eyes? Nah, just the lighting. And of course, they actually gave him some detail, and they actually gave him a mouth. They didn't want to cop out and just give him another mouth plate. But then again, all the protective boxes, except for First Aid and Hotspot, have mouths. And of course, they get that nice Autobot symbol right there with the silver lining. And of course, he does have the more traditional. He does have the traditional post ability. Aside from the arms, thanks to the way he transforms, his arms only bend that much and leave that much of a gap. They could have done a little bit something to add a little bit more room here, but now I'm nitpicking. Oh, red paint. Ball joint at the shoulder, bicep swivel, 90-degree bend, and of course the leg articulation hasn't changed, so you got ball joint at the hip, thigh swivel, 90-degree bend at the knee. And of course, all these guys do have waist swivels, which apparently was a big thing for a while where people wanted ankle tilts and waist swivels. But thanks to Combiner Wars, a lot of the deluxes now have waist swivels. Most of them. Titan Wars is a different story because they cough that up for the Titans compartment, but that's a different story altogether. And of course, he can hold his weapons. I have two different versions of this mold, and I think it's the Prowl version where they're very loose on him. Oh yeah, it's a Prowl version. Because he holds these really, really tight. And he, again, just like his other brethren, can get a decent pose. And he does have that A stance, so you can see his feet have a slight lean to them. Give him a nice action pose. Boom! Of course, final thoughts are going to be, this mold has to be one of my favorites out of the whole Combiner Wars line. And you can tell that as soon as they made this, Hasbro knew what they had, because it was the most used mold out of the whole line, and no one disagreed with them. Everybody ate this thing up at the second he came out, and everybody was looking for an excuse to buy this mold again. Even with the exclusion of Victorion, this mold would be used a total of 6 times. And if I recall correctly, that is the most used mold out of all of them. And again, it just shows you how good of a little mold he is. Diverse enough, he's diverse enough to actually show off amongst the other cars, as well as it's so, oh man, I don't know how to put it, but basically, no matter who character wears this mold, they will wear it like it's them, like they own this mold. From Streets to Prowl to Smokescreen to, oh man, I can't remember the is it Dead End? Breakneck? The red one from Menasor, I can't remember, but they all wear this mold because all they really have to do is change up the chest plate and change up the head, and they instantly know who this character is. Shoot, for Prowl and Smokescreen, all they had to do was give them a brand new paint job or brand new colors and change up the head, and you can instantly tell that was Smokescreen and Prowl. This again, this was another one of those molds where you can it just works so well. And now I'm starting to stutter a lot. So now that I'm starting to stutter a lot, let's go ahead and wrap this up. So before I blabber on like the little person I am who's hooked up on Monster. Yay! Anyway, guys. Of course, I really dig this guy. He is not someone to avoid. He's actually a mold you should actually pick up, no matter who it is. And with that being said, I will gladly get out of here. I'm gone. I'm Ghost. I'm Pestance. I'm out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow with Hotspot, and we're going to wrap this thing up.